What is going on, Headliner Nation? Hopefully everyone's doing well out there. Today we're talking about our quick and dirty top 30 wide receivers for Week 11 fantasy football. But that's not it. I also need to announce the winner of the signed Javonte Williams jersey that we're giving away. Now, there were a ton of comments on last week's video, but we threw them into the random comment selector, and congratulations to AP Zibby. You are the randomly selected winner of this signed Javonte Williams jersey, thanks to our friends over at Pristine Auction. Be sure to have your free account signed up using that referral code Headliners, and then go ahead and send me an email to info@thefantasyheadliners.com from that account right there, and we will hook you up. But we're not wasting any more time. We're getting right into the rankings. We're kicking it off at number 1 with Tyreek Hill. I don't know about you, but man, am I glad to have Tyreek Hill back off his bye week. Now he gets a chance to play at home against Las Vegas, a very underrated defense, but the overall wide receiver 1 in fantasy football for the year is also my number 1 overall fantasy football wide receiver here in Week 11. Number 2, it's CeeDee Lamb. Dude is on an absolute tear. I don't know if he can get much hotter right now. 3 straight games over 150 yards receiving, now a matchup going to Carolina. Not the easiest of matchups for him either, but he works out of the slot so much, he's a mismatch nightmare no matter what the matchup is. Number 3, it's Amon-Ra St. Brown. About as consistent as it gets all season long, and the guy just continues to rack up yards after the catch. Now a great matchup this week going up against Chicago. Number 4, it's Stefon Diggs. Coming off a very rough Week 10. Now a chance to go up against the New York Jets and maybe get some redemption for what happened in Week 1. Now this isn't some cream puff matchup for Stefon Diggs, not by any means. He's going to get a lot of sauce, but he handled the sauce in Week 1 just fine. And you have to think, with Buffalo changing offensive coordinators, they're going to pepper their number 1 wide receiver in Stefon Diggs. He's at number 4. Number 5, A.J. Brown, fresh off the bye week as well, in a matchup going up against Kansas City, a Super Bowl rematch. And man, it just seems like a lot of the top wide receivers have difficult matchups here this week. Kansas City is no joke. A.J. Brown's been on another level though for multiple weeks. He still stays here in the top 5 at number 5. Number 6, it's Keenan Allen, hoping that he's 100% going into Week 11. Dude was banged up in Week 10, hobbling all over the field, but he kept going out series after series and racking up receiving yards. He's currently the wide receiver 3 overall in fantasy football and number 6 for me here this week. Number 7, it's Ja'Marr Chase, another guy with a difficult matchup going up against Baltimore. Now he struggled against them earlier in the season, but in that game, T. Higgins was the one that found the success. There is no T. Higgins this week. Plus, we now have a healthy Joe Burrow. That's something we didn't have earlier in the season either. I got Ja'Marr Chase at 7. Number 8, it's Cooper Kupp. Another wide receiver coming off the bye week, getting a home game up against the Seattle Seahawks, so not a bad matchup for Cooper Kupp. But the biggest bonus here is Matthew Stafford is still his quarterback, and we don't have to worry about Carson Wentz just yet, so Kupp is at number 8. Number 9, it's Brandon Ayuk of the San Francisco 49ers, a great matchup at home, going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A Buccaneers secondary that is hurting right now. I got Brandon Ayuk at 9. Number 10, it's Mike Evans, his opponent in that game. Now, obviously, not the greatest of matchups for Mike Evans, but his touchdown upside is huge every single week, and he continues to find a way to go out and score double-digit points. He's at number 10. Number 11, then, it's Davante Adams going to Miami to face the Dolphins. Adams is seeing absolutely huge volume right now. The problem, not all of it is catchable. What would be great is if we could see Aiden O'Connell deliver some cleaner balls to Davante Adams. But based off of volume alone, I got him right here at number 11 in this matchup. Number 12, it's Deebo Samuel. That great matchup going up against Tampa Bay. And when Deebo is fully healthy, when this offense is fully healthy, right? We got Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey. The offensive line is healthy. Trent Williams is back. That's when Deebo Samuel has his opportunity. At big games, I got him at 12. 13, it's Devontae Smith. It's Skinny Batman. There's no Dallas Goedert right now in Philadelphia. He's going to miss a few weeks, which means more targets going the way of Devontae Smith. Not an easy matchup against Kansas City, but they're going to have to put some points on the board. If A.J. Brown gets some added attention, maybe more targets go the way of Devontae Smith. Got him at 13. 14, it's Jalen Waddle going up against Las Vegas. Now, Jalen Waddle was starting to get his stride. Then they sent him across the ocean, and all the momentum died. Hopefully, coming off the bye week, he can pick it right back up again. He's at 14. 15 is Christian Kirk. really the only wide receiver that consistently produces in Jacksonville. It seems like all the other offensive weapons there in Jacksonville are dinking and dunking their way down the field. Christian Kirk is the guy who's consistently averaging over 10 yards per reception. That's why he's at number 15. 16 is Garrett Wilson, and honestly, this has everything to do with volume. Each and every week, the guy is going out and getting 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 targets a week for Garrett Wilson. Now a matchup going up against Buffalo, who honestly hasn't looked very great here as of late on defense due to all the injuries. Garrett Wilson at 16. 17, it's Puka Nacua of the Los Angeles Rams in that home game going up against Seattle. Now, Puka found a ton of success against Seattle early on in the season. You have to think, though, that the Rams need to get Cooper Kupp going. No better time to do that than in a great matchup like this coming out of the bye week, so I dropped Puka a few spots down to 17. 18, it's Tank Dell of the Houston Texans in a matchup going up against Arizona. A great matchup, and at the time of this recording, Nico Collins still isn't practicing. What does that mean? 10 plus targets once again for Tank Dell. Once he sees that volume, he sees the production. He's at 18. 19, it's DeAndre Hopkins of the Tennessee Titans in a great matchup going up against Jacksonville. A Jacksonville defense that was absolutely shredded last week by the San Francisco 49ers. Now, Hopkins has been pretty quiet over the past couple weeks, but there's still nobody else in Tennessee that's commanding a large target share. In a great matchup, I got DeAndre Hopkins at 19. 20, it's Adam Thielen, Carolina Panthers, in a difficult matchup at home going up against the Dallas Cowboys. Now, word came out on Wednesday that Frank Reich is going to start calling the offensive plays once again. The first thing that tells me is we're about to see a whole lot of Adam Thielen targets, and with the amount of time he spends in the slot, he should have the opportunity to rack up some receptions, so he's at 20. 21, this is where I have DJ Moore of the Chicago Bears. DJ Moore gets his Justin Fields back this week. Now, as much as I would just love to throw DJ Moore right back up into the top 12, we have to be a little bit realistic here. Justin Fields is coming off an injury that involves his grip of the football. Before we overhype the weapons on the field with him, let's see how he looks on the field. DJ Moore, we already know, is a big-time playmaker, and this is a great matchup going up against Detroit, and that's why he's still at 21. Which will then take us down to number 22. It's DK Metcalf of the Seattle Seahawks in a matchup going up against the Los Angeles Rams. Not an easy matchup whatsoever. But really, right now, the biggest issue in Seattle is the split volume between DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Jackson Smith-Njigba. They're all really eating into each other's ceilings, and it's really leading to inconsistent production week after week after week. DK hasn't really shown the ceiling that he has in years past, but he is the safest option as of right now, so I got him at 22. 23, it's Courtland Sutton of the Denver Broncos. I have been talking about the touchdown upside of this guy for weeks. I've also been saying that if they could commit 10 targets a week to Courtland Sutton, we could be looking at a top 12 overall wide receiver. They're still only giving him right around 6 targets a week though, kind of limiting that overall upside, but the dude keeps finding the end zone. In a matchup against Minnesota, I got him at 23. 24, it's Amari Cooper, and he's kind of trending down as of right now. If you watch the wide receiver start and sit video, I talked about the safe floor of Amari Cooper, a wide receiver that can go out weekly, hover right around 10 fantasy points, and doesn't need a touchdown to give you a great day. Then word came out that we weren't going to have Deshaun Watson rest of season, so maybe we're considering PJ Walker. No, they're going to DTR. The rookie's getting another shot in Cleveland, and honestly, that's going to lower the ceiling maybe a little bit more for Amari Cooper. So he's currently at 24, but by the weekend, could find himself down near 30 or so, which will take us down to number 25. This is where I have Terry McLaurin in a smash matchup. It's a great matchup going up against the New York Giants. The problem is Washington always finds ways to screw up great matchups. Whether it's Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel, there is no consistency in this offense, and even though on paper he should have a great game, they just don't all season long. So Terry McLaurin and his inconsistencies are down to 25. 26, it's Noah Brown of the Houston Texans. Now, like I said earlier with Tank Dell, as of right now, we have no Nico Collins this week, and if we don't, Noah Brown proved in week 10 that he wasn't some one-hit wonder. Dude went off again, and now he gets an even better matchup going up against Arizona at home in Houston. Right now, Noah Brown at 26. 27, this is where I have Tyler Lockett. Kind of already talked about the inconsistencies in the Seattle offense due to the amount of weapons. That matchup matchup going up against the Rams, I got Lockett at 27. 28's where I have Hollywood Brown. In a matchup going up against the Houston Texans, would love to throw him a little bit higher, but what we really saw from Kyler Murray last week is his ability to spread the ball around, and with the emergence of tight end Trey McBride, that's going to hamper the ceiling of Marquise Hollywood Brown, so he's at 28. 29, it's Tyler Boyd, Cincinnati Bengals. No T. Higgins. Once again, if you have T. Higgins, he's not playing this week. But this is a very difficult matchup going up against Baltimore. Now, typically, Tyler Boyd operates out of the slot, but with no T. Higgins, he is going to be limited in his slot snaps. Now, last week we saw him get double-digit targets, and honestly, we can see that once again here this week, but it's a more difficult matchup going up against Baltimore, so he's at 29. And then 30, it's Romeo Doubs of the Green Bay Packers. And this one right here has everything to do with the matchup going up against the Los Angeles Chargers. They allow some of the most points in the NFL to opposing wide receivers, and Doubs continues to get looks week in and week out in the end zone, and that touchdown upside is what gets him up here inside the top 30 at number 30. But you all know the deal. I'm a man of the people, which means I got the 10 guys who are just on the outside looking in of the quick and dirty top 30 wide receivers. These are in no specific order. Like I always say, after wide receiver 25 or so, there's about 15 guys that are interchangeable and all have some sort of deserving reason to be inside the top 30. But still, we can't fit 40 into 30. So here we go. The names on this list, first one up, it's Jordan Addison. Now, at the time of this recording, we do not know whether or not for sure we're going to have Justin Jefferson return this week. What we do know is with Josh Dobbs under center in Minnesota, the ceiling has come down a little bit for Jordan Addison. Not to the point where he's not startable, but he's more of a flex option than a top 12 option. Deontay Johnson, we saw a huge fall off last week, and Kenny Pickett, I'm sorry, he just ain't it. Now he has a matchup going up against the Cleveland Browns. That's not going to be easy, so Deontay Johnson on the outside looking in. What about Jackson Smith and Jigba? We talked about Tyler Lockett. We talked about DK Metcalf, and JSN is just another one of those guys that's getting consistent volume each and every week. The floor is safe, but the ceiling hasn't been very high. What about Chris Godwin? He wasn't feeling 100% in week 10, went out and had a normal Chris Godwin-esque type day for 2023. Now a matchup going up against San Francisco on the road in San Francisco. This could be one of those days once again where we see Chris Godwin rack up some receptions, but he's not really getting huge yardage. And if he doesn't find the end zone, he's really not a huge help to your fantasy team. Really a flex play at best. We also have Nico Collins on this list because I don't want you to forget about him. If he's active for some reason, this matchup is that good to where he does also become a flex option. What about George Pickens being absolutely killed in Pittsburgh by not getting enough volume? How about Calvin Diddley in Jacksonville? At some point, this guy is going to have another big game, but it's going to happen on everyone's bench because everyone is sick of no production. Zay Flowers, a great matchup for him going up against Cincinnati. Now, Baltimore, as of late, really hasn't had to throw the ball very much, and that's hurt the production of Zay Flowers quite a bit. But in a matchup going up against Joe Burrow and the Bengals, I expect Baltimore to have to throw the ball a little bit in this game. Cincinnati can put points on the board, and if they do, they're going to need Zay Flowers in Baltimore. What about Gabe Davis? A matchup going up against the New York Jets. I know it's not a great matchup. I get it. But you have to think that this Buffalo Bills team is going to have to try to air it out and gain some confidence in the game of Josh Allen. Right now, he is in his head way too much. He needs something good to happen to really start building some of that confidence and momentum back up. Don't forget about Gabe Davis. And then lastly, what about Rashee Rice? The only wide receiver worth a crap in Kansas City in a great matchup going up against Philadelphia. We know Patrick Mahomes has to throw the ball to somebody other than Travis Kelce. The only guy that's been safe in this offense whatsoever is Rashee Rice. He's also just on the outside looking in. But that's going to do it here for my quick and dirty top 30 wide receivers for week 11 fantasy football. Let's get those lineups set. Let's make a run to the fantasy football playoffs. Now, obviously, there'll be other ranking shows out today, so be sure to stay tuned into those as well. But for now, I'm going to get out here for the day. Hopefully you enjoy the rest of your day. And then most importantly, do your part to make the world a better place.